Young people are being asked to think out of the box. As a higher education minister, Naledi Pandor encourages them to become entrepreneurs. But is entrepreneurship for everyone? We are joined by Andrew Charman, co-founder and director of the Sustainable Livelihoods Foundation, to talk more about this, particularly against the background of the growing youth unemployment. Andrew, good morning, and thank you very much for your time. Just overall, entrepreneurship sometimes is touted both by government and the private sector, and in terms of small business, as one area where we can make a dent to the growing numbers of young people who are unemployed in the country. Is it a silver bullet of sorts or not?
Good morning, Dan. This is a question that needs to be looked in from two different perspectives. From the one perspective, if we think of entrepreneurs as individuals who can create businesses that will grow, that will create employment, that will transition to the formal economy, this is a very difficult task to achieve, not simply in South Africa, but across the world. On the other hand, if we look at entrepreneurship as in terms of an entrepreneurial spirit, in terms of a mindset in which people can think about conducting an activity, providing a service as part of an income stream to sustain their household at some level, then I think we can be doing far better than we're currently doing in this country. If we look at comparative middle-income countries across the world, we see much higher levels of participation in the economy, albeit within informal micro-enterprises. Whereas in South Africa, we have a unique problem of high unemployment and very low participation in the informal economy. So, Dan, I think the bottom line is we're doing something wrong, and we need to really create and foster a spirit of entrepreneurship, and that is yet to be achieved.
How could we expand, the number of small job-creating opportunities, or businesses in this case? How do you think we could change?
Well, I think as a starting point, Dan, we really need to know what the problem is. And I think there's a problem in itself that we don't really understand what are the barriers that are stopping young people from embracing entrepreneurship, starting small businesses. We also don't really understand what are the kinds of businesses that young people want to pursue. So much of the programs that government and business have undertaken are based on certain assumptions, and very often these assumptions are misplaced. The kind of programs that are initiated miss the target. So we're really not aligning people's needs and entrepreneurial needs with the provision of programs and other resources. So that's just one area of what I would call a problem. I think there are other problems that we encounter that we need to address. I think, to speak quite frankly, Dan, there is a service delivery problem, that the business-related services are not getting to reach young people, they're not being appropriately targeted. I think in terms of the performance delivery of some of the government service providers are not doing a particularly good job. I've heard many complaints from young people that offices are closed, or that they've been excluded from opportunities to receive funding or training or various other kinds of support. So we need to think very carefully and critically at the performance of government in terms of the provision of entrepreneurial support that targets young people. I think thirdly, we have a number of
Go on.
Sorry, shall I continue?
Yes.
I think thirdly, we have a number of regulatory barriers in terms of red tape. It's not easy to establish a business in this country, and particularly in poorer communities. So these regulatory barriers need to be addressed, and we need to understand what those regulatory barriers are and look at ways of reducing the barriers to make it easier for people to set up small businesses and to pursue entrepreneurial activities. And then the last area that we've given a lot of thought to is that there is a lack of will. And I think this applies not only to government, but to business and also to civil society. There is really not sufficient will to support young entrepreneurs in poorer communities in this country. And this we can measure in terms of the kinds of programs that have been initiated, the level of resources that have been set aside to support young entrepreneurs, the kinds of expertise that have been mobilized. So we have a real problem in terms of political will. And unless we address at least these 4 areas, I don't see progress in the short term.